What's up, guys? This is Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the broader markets. I want to talk about what Jerome Powell said that's very important, what's happening with the economic calendar moving forward, and what you should be watching for as time goes on. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link that's down below, or use my QR code right here to sign up. Moomoo is an amazing global brokerage that consists of many exclusive offers. If you sign up and deposit $100, you're going to get $20 of free Nvidia stock. If you deposit $2,000, you're going to get $50 worth of Nvidia. Deposits $10,000 to get $300 worth of the stock, or deposits $50,000 to get $1,000 of free Nvidia. The offer ends very soon, in just about 5 days from now, so please check out my link down below to sign up. Anyways, let's talk about what's happening with the markets. So as far as Tesla's going, we're watching for the possibility of a left shoulder right here, a head which is made up of the double bottom, and then we could be forming a right shoulder. We're either about to see some kind of like pullback move to complete that right shoulder before we try to rally back up to all-time highs, or we might not really form much of a right shoulder. It could just be like a small dip in consolidation before this just goes straight up to all-time highs. That's what Tesla could be doing. SPY could also be doing something very similar. Either we have a left shoulder right here, a head over here, and then we're about to form sort of like a right shoulder, since we're forming like a triple bearish divergence to fill this gap to 675. Then we basically rally back up to all-time highs. Or the bullish case is that we don't really get much of a pullback. We just consolidate and just go straight up if we start breaking structure. That's also very possible. The QQQ could be doing the same thing. We could be forming a left shoulder, a head, and we're going to see if we form a double top to form that right shoulder like this before we rally really hard, or if we just basically make, we just consolidate here before we start to break out. We'll see what ends up happening as time goes on. So what's happening moving forward, looking at Tesla, like I said before, we're basically going to see if this is a lower high right here, and if Tesla sees some kind of dip first before we see another bigger move up. But this depends on some important factors, such as what's happening with FOMC. When it comes to FOMC, I want to remind you all that the Fed have given us a 25 basis point cut. And then when it comes to the economic projections, we saw that for the first, second, and third years out, we're expecting not as many cuts as before, at least for now. Of course, this data could be subjected to change depending on data that comes out. And then also we had the press conference with the big guy, Mr. Jerome Powell, giving a speech. So what did Jerome Powell say that was very important? Well, Jerome Powell made it very clear that the Fed has no preset course for policy. They have to wait and see what happens with data. And he mentioned that much of the data that's coming out has been very delayed, and that does affect the way in which the Fed goes about things. He talked about how when it comes to inflation, he does believe that inflation could be forming a peak soon, and that the most likely possibility is that the tariffs are the reason why we saw inflation increase the way it did. But the thing about that is that much of that could be kind of like done with, and that the majority of the inflationary data could be starting to decrease over time, right? That's what Jerome Powell is telling us, that we're nearing a peak in inflation. There could be some downside. Of course, it's not guaranteed, and the Fed has to look at the data just to be safe. The Fed is also prioritizing the labor market alongside other components because of what we're seeing in our data, and the Fed has to be very careful with the way in which they go about policy. When asked about what's going to happen when there's a new chairman, since Jerome Powell is going to be replaced next year, he only has, I think, 3 FOMC meetings left after this one, and that's not, the best for him. He has mentioned that he likes his job, but it is what it is. But with him leaving, he says he wants to leave the economy in a good place. He also talks about how the Fed is going to be buying back treasuries, and they are basically easing on policy. But of course, there's no fixated guarantees on what the Fed is doing. They have to wait and see on data. When it comes to the summary of economic projections, we could see that the Fed is anticipating that our GDP numbers are going to be kind of flat. They might go a little bit higher for 2026 than dip in 2027, but they think things will be more moderate. Of course, the Fed cannot be 100% sure, as it depends on lots of factors, but they do typically tell us things like this, whether we end up getting a recession or not. The unemployment rate is expected to go up a little bit before it starts to slow down in the upcoming years. That's what we're looking for. This is not guaranteed. This is what the Fed is projecting. PCE inflation saw an increase in 2025, but we're going to see if it starts decreasing in the upcoming years. Same thing with core. The Fed is also anticipating that they're going to be decreasing the rates slowly as many years progress. So that's something very important to note. This is what the dot plot looks like for the Fed officials. The Fed is also buying back Treasury yields, telling us that they're going to continue to inject more liquidity into the systems. And then finally, there's some more news that came out that President Trump has said, sorry, right over here, that if the market goes up, we should encourage it to go up more. So that's what President Trump has said. Does that mean the market goes higher? We'll see about that. Two more things real quick. Elon Musk said that Tesla is working to essentially eliminate the need for the safety monitors for their robotaxis in Texas. And within 3 weeks, they can now be fully autonomous. There will not be anyone in the passenger seats. There's not going to be anyone there to basically monitor them. They're becoming so much safer, according to Elon Musk. So if that happens, that's a big piece of news for Teslas. They're becoming more and more autonomous. And this is going to help them as they're mapping out the city and improving the real world technology. On top of this, the last thing I want to talk about is we saw Oracle dump quite a bit because they ended up missing on their quarterly revenue. And as a result of Oracle's stock dropping, the stock market is selling off a bit in the after hours. So what does this mean for the markets moving forward? What is my prediction? Let's actually talk about this. Tesla has a possible inverse head and shoulders like pattern like this. The double bottom is going to be like the head, and we're going to see if we form a right shoulder. If we're bullish, you want to see us break 460 to break out higher. If we're bearish, you want to see us essentially lose 444 to dip to 437. Then we'll see if we get some kind of rejection to form that right shoulder, which would take us back down to like 425. I'll be watching these setups very closely. We're range bound right now on Tesla, going back and forth, and we're waiting to see what happens with news and the reaction to Jerome Powell's speech tomorrow. But overall, Tesla is bullish. It does look like it might dip a little bit tomorrow, but then there could be a big bounce coming. I do believe Tesla will be breaking out to all-time highs within a month or two from now. But for tomorrow, with this bearish divergence, I know it's a little hard to see on the 30-minute time frame. You'll see it. Tesla is going to be favoring a test of 444. And then we're going to see if this holds or not. If it doesn't, we could dip a little bit more before we attempt to bounce. So I'll be watching that very closely. There looks like there's going to be some consolidation. We pushed and came back down. So look for a test of 444. Then we'll see if we bounce. But that's what I think Tesla will likely be doing. On the SPY chart, there's some weakness. We have a triple bearish divergence for the short term. We need to essentially break 688 to continue to push. But if we lose 685, we're looking for these lows to be retested. Looking at the triple bearish divergence, we could be retesting 684 to 685, and we're going to see if we bounce off this on SPY or not. I remain neutral. I'm going to be watching to see if this inverse head and shoulders pattern pans out or not. Just know that I don't know now if this is going to pan out or if we just get a small dip and we just start to squeeze to all-time highs. I am completely unbiased now because of the fact that Jerome Powell was talking about the Fed easing on policy, and that helped the market push. We have not broken structure. We tried to break it only to come back down. So it looks like SPY is going to get pushed down tomorrow for like 685 to 684. Then we're going to see if we bounce or not off that area. The QQQ is also range bound. As we get close to the higher 620s, we like to reject. As we hit the low 620, we like to bounce. I think we're dipping for 624 or so, and we could consolidate. And we're going to see if we break out up or down as time goes on. On the IWM, we're more bullish. So long as we don't lose 251, we're going to be favoring 258 next for some more temporary upside. On ES, I just wanted to mention that we have sort of like an inverse head and shoulders here. There's a left shoulder, a head, and then we're going to see if we form a right shoulder. If we get a rejection, if we end up losing 6840, we're looking for a dump to the lower 6800s like this before we try to bounce. But if we break 6900, we're looking for a big breakout higher. To me, it looks like ES is range bound. As we come down here towards 6850, we like to bounce. As we hit 6900, we like to reject. It looks like it might be coming down temporarily back down to 6850, and it might consolidate. We're going to see if we break out or not. Otherwise, there's some downside risk. So we're going to take it one step at a time. We're still range bound. SPY, the QQQ, ES, all of these are just range bound right now. There's no true break. We tried to break out on ES only to reject. NQ is also range bound. Look how it's just trading sideways even after Jerome Powell's speech. We're still stuck. You could interpret this as a bearish sign though, because we were not able to break out on ES and NQ. We tried to and we failed. Unless we get back above 25,800, this is going to be favoring 25,682, then 25,576 tomorrow, and we're going to see if we bounce or not. But there might be some temporary downside. Bitcoin's on an uptrend, it's making higher highs and higher lows, but we got a double top here with Jerome Powell's speech. We're going to be looking for 91,000 flats tomorrow for a small dip, and we'll see if we bounce. Tesla's also in a range for the last like week and a half. As Tesla is above 435, we're getting bought back up. As we get close to 460, we like to reject. It's a big range, but that's what Tesla's doing. I do see Tesla retesting 444, maybe even 440. Then we'll see if we bounce off that. But for now, we're just range bound. So it looks like we're just going to be trading sideways for now. Nvidia got a rejection with Oracle and its earnings. We're coming back down with this head and shoulders like pattern. We need to get back above 185. If not, we're looking for 178 or below. On other tickers such as Aapl, we tried to bounce. We're going to see if we're going to bounce or not. But keep in mind, this kind of resembles a left shoulder, head and right shoulder. I need to see 280 break. If we can't break that, I see this consolidating between 276 and then 280, going back and forth before we start dipping back down to like the low 270s. So be careful as we have a left shoulder, head and right shoulder, which could lead to some downside. On Netflix, we basically have this double bottom here. So long as we don't end up losing 92, we're looking to see if we bounce back up to 95. On MSTR, we're rejecting. We have a bearish divergence, and we could be dipping back down towards 180 to 177.5. Celsius looks more bullish. We're going to be favoring essentially the 45 area, so I think this might be going a little bit higher. Supermicro is also forming kind of like an inverse head and shoulders as well. Could be dipping back down towards this 33 area, so we'll see if we bounce, but there is going to be some downside potential. Palantir looks more bullish. If we could hold above 188, I think we continue. If not, we could turn back down towards 184. To me, it might dip to 184, then bounce again, but the overall trend is still bullish, even if we dip a couple of points. Rivian has a head and shoulders like pattern, got a double top rejection. We need to hold 17.5 tomorrow. If not, we're looking for the low 17s. SoFi is on a downtrend, making lower highs unless we get back above 27.5. We're still favoring the low 26s. AMD has a double top rejection. Unless we hold above 220, we're going to be favoring a move back down to 215. ARM has a double top right here. We're going to see if we hold above 142. If not, we're looking for 139. PayPal has a rejection here. We're making lower highs. As long as we don't hold above 61.3, we're looking for 60.2. On Coinbase, we have kind of like a head and shoulders rejection. We need to hold at least 272 to bounce. If we don't, I could see this dipping to about 265. There's downside risk. Amazon's turning. We need to hold 230 tomorrow. If we don't, we could return back down to 227. Notice it's making lower highs so far. Meta needs to hold above 646. If it doesn't, we could be tipping back down to 635. Google has resistance at 325. If we don't hold that, we're looking for 317. And then Microsoft got a rejection, could be tipping back down to 474. Oracle's also dumping right now, looking for 195 as support right over here. We pumped very nicely, approaching earnings only to reject, so we're going to see how well we hold up after their revenue miss. Tomorrow, we also have Broadcom announcing earnings. There's a slight bearish divergence, so I'd be very careful with this. I'd like to see us hold above 415 to continue. If we don't, we could turn back down towards the low 400s. DJT is also dipping, could be looking for 11 soon. The VIX is at support where it likes to bounce in the 15s. Are we about to bounce in the VIX or not? And we're going to see what happens with the dollar. It's dipping, but there's a slight bullish divergence. It needs to get back above 99. So overall, guys, I'm indecisive. I don't know if SPY and the QQQ are about to form inverse head and shoulders and get a big bounce, or if there's not going to be much of a right shoulder. If this is it, we just dip a little bit, consolidate, and start to rally to new all-time highs. It depends on the levels. Right now, we're still range bound on SPY and the QQQ, and for the overall markets, looking at ES, SPX, NQ, the NASDAQ, everything is just kind of range bound right now, so we're still kind of stuck. And we're waiting to see what happens. Tesla's also range bound. There's no true break in its structure, so it could be tipping back down to 444, and we'll see what happens as time goes on. With that being said, guys, I'm going to end the video from here. Thank you for listening. Tesla might dip to 444 tomorrow, maybe a little bit lower, but then we could be looking for a nice bounce. We're still range bound for now. There's no sign of a big break yet. If we break 460, though, I think we're going to break out very sharply, and it could be going back up to like $500, but there's no confirmation for break yet. Jerome Powell helped us push, then we started to dip afterwards, and then Oracle's earnings is causing the market to dump a little bit in the after hours. So are we about to see a pullback? I think we dip a little bit tomorrow morning, but then we're going to see if we bounce off key support. I'll give you guys a nice update once we have tomorrow coming up with the market open, and I'll let you guys know how things go tomorrow. Thank you for listening, and peace out.